Welcome back to the show, The Hype Mind. My name's Danny, and we have
I'm
Drew.
yeah.
We're
What's
talking and
up?
we're discussing the topic of ghosting. Ghosting someone. Is it okay? Can you ever do it? And it can be okay to ghost somebody. Depends on the situation though. But I want to get more into that later.
Why don't you take it away?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I have been ghosted several times. I think mostly because I've been in sales, right? Most salespeople get ghost salesmen, women get ghosted in their job.
I mean, I don't know if it's fair to count your experiences though, because I think you enjoy being ghosted because you're too indifferent to care. But
Well, wait, let me share this for a second. So this was interesting because I wasn't like cold calling people or anything like that. I actually had an interaction with them face to face before I got a number, I got a contact information. Sometimes we're in their house and talked to them, sat down, had, if they had food, they gave it to me, would chit chat. It wasn't just about business. And so it's kind of like we were developing a nice relationship. Anyways, I would follow up with them maybe a week later or just catch up and, I'd inform and educate most of the time. I wasn't bugging them, right? It was more like, okay, this is what's going on, or just following up. Now, some of the times they wouldn't respond, right? Like nothing. And sure, I might follow up again next week and still nothing. So of course I'm like anybody would be like, hey, this is a total waste of time, you know. Uh Now let's say I run into so and so who ghosted me 2 years down the line, right? Who knows? Could happen. Yes, you should be nice to people, you should be polite. However, to be honest, it would be hard to. I could see the loss of respect I have for someone who just ghosted me. They could have said no. They could have said, "Hey, not interested," or "Hey, don't text me ever
uh,
again." you know, and I would just been like, "Okay, cool, fine," you know.
I
But
think
the fact that they ghosted me, it's like no response is a response.
yeah.
It sometimes can be a worse response than even just being blunt and saying no, like not interested. Even I don't like you. But it was interesting because it wasn't I wasn't just randomly reaching out to these people. I met them face to face. I was actually talking to them. So it's like we know each other a little bit more than just as a random guy, you know, showing up and being like, "Hey, what's up?" So
I mean, I think you mentioned two really good points that stood out. The first was respect. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's a big gamble. Is it worth losing or like damaging the respect someone has for you because you want to go someone like that? That's probably one of the biggest points I would emphasize because I don't. It depends. It depends on what kind of person you are. Like for me, I'm confident enough where I don't need to ghost someone. Like I don't care. I have no problem being polite and honest, even if
mhm,
it's you know, even if even if I don't want to be.
right.
But I mean, the big thing is, yeah, think about the respect. It's like, yeah, you never know, especially with a lot of scenarios. I think usually ghosting occurs, most people think of it from a relationship standpoint, like like interest relationship, not like business relationship. But like
Yeah.
you point, it occurs everywhere. It occurs in any kind of communication. But it's like, is it worth the damage to respect? Because that's a big one. That's huge.
Mhm.
And then the other thing
Right. It
that
ruins your self-image, or you take a chance ruining your self-image by doing
and
that.
and the future of something that might happen. You never know. Like you might be like, geez, honestly, I only ghosted them because I was angry at them for something I realized I didn't need to be, or because I was afraid of doing something when I didn't have to be afraid of it. But
Or
so
afraid of just saying, "Hey, I'm not interested."
but the other thing is, I think a lot of times ghosting happens when it's a decision. Um, like and I'll use relationships as an example. It's super easy as a guy to hit up a girl and be like, hey, hey, how are you? And get a quick answer. But the minute you ask them to make a decision, that's a lot of times where the lack of interest will show and you'll get ghosted. You'll be like, hey, how are you? And they'll answer instantly, hi, I'm doing well, or hi, good, how are you? And but then when you say, hey, let's go out Tuesday, that's when you get ghosted. You're like, I don't get it. They answered the first time, but then they ghosted me seconds later. Why bother answering the first time? And I think a lot of ghosting really goes down when it comes to making decisions, because people, they freeze in the face of decision making. In not just in relationships, not just in like your example, business. We in general tend to get anxious about making decisions because you can't go back on a decision a lot of times. Once you make it, you pay the price, even if it's good. So, I think that's where a lot of it occurs, is right there with this.
Right. And if you're,
considering that when it comes to decisions, that's the kind of thing that like, it's always better to make a decision, even if it's the wrong one.
Right.
And, like, once you adopt that mentality, you change your life dramatically for the better.
Right. It looks a lot better to say something than nothing. Even if that's something to come across.
Make a decision than to not make a decision.
Yeah. Just like you said.
But let's get into when is it right and when is it wrong.
So, I mean, when it's wrong, I can tell you, is when someone's not respecting you, or when it's right, when you can go somebody, when it's appropriate to go somebody, is when they don't respect your boundaries. Yeah, let's say someone's reaching out to you and you politely tell them, hey, like, no, thank you, right? Not interested. And you could politely tell them, hey, it's great meeting you.
Sorry,
That's it.
Let me just make a story out of this. I was literally just talking to a friend last night, and she was like, yeah, like this guy, I matched with this guy on a dating app. I wasn't interested, but I was like, he kept asking to hang out. So I was like, well, here, like, I'll send you over to my friend. Like, you're more her kind of guy anyway. And so, like, she checked with her friend, and so she shares the information, and this guy hits up her friend, and they talk for a little while, and then he like tries to make plans, and she's like, I'm busy tonight. And he's like, he gets all butthurt about it, and he's like, and like the responses are blatantly obvious that he's butthurt, but he like pretends he's not. He's like, well, it's not a big deal to me, but like, I don't get why you would talk and then not like actually do something. And she's like, I'm just busy. Like, maybe we'll go out tomorrow. And he's like, well, like, he keeps making stupid excuses, right? Finally, she goes because, like you're saying, the respect for boundaries just isn't there. It's like he doesn't know when to just drop it and be patient and wait for her to be like, hey, did you still want to get together? Or, hey, actually, I did figure out my schedule and I am free tomorrow. Because it's not like she wasn't upfront and she was like, hey, I'm busy tonight, I can't do tonight. But long story short, right? She ghosts him, she blocks him because he would respect those boundaries, despite the fact that she actually was effectively communicating, being like, I'm busy tonight, I'll let you know about the future. Like, I'm not ignoring your questions, I'm giving you answers to the best of my ability. And so she blocks him, and then he like hits her up on like one of those like other like side messaging apps, like Telegram or like WhatsApp or something, right? She like uses her number on that, and she's like, what the fuck, dude? Like, fuck off.
Right. Yeah. That's that's when it's appropriate to start like blocking people too. It's like they're not respecting your boundaries at all, or they don't even get they don't even get it. Get the clue that you're, even if you say you're not interested, and you also are implying it by, even ghosting.
Even when they do get the clue, and they get the clue that you're not interested, and they emotionally react inappropriately. It's like, if I had to guess, I would say in that scenario, he probably realized he was being rejected. And his way of handling it was to overreact and be like, no, this isn't fair. And it's like, dude, or even if you're a chick, like, suck it up and drop
it up. Drop it. Yeah.
But I would argue, from my point of view, most of the time it's not okay to ghost. Unless someone's like disrespecting your boundaries, I don't think it's necessary to ghost people. I've had very few situations where I can't politely end something. Even if someone continually texts me in a way that is like respectful, and they're like, no, please give me another chance, or like, please, please don't ignore me, and like maybe you read their text and and you like just take some space to answer, like maybe you wait a day to answer or something, and like they still are,
Mhm.
even then it's like I think blocking is an extreme. I think ghosting is an extreme.
Right.
I
And
almost never think it's necessary
mhm,
to do one of those things.
right. I mean, it's especially when you bring up relationships, um, you might tell somebody, hey, like not interested, and they'll reach out again, or try to get together, and give them a couple strikes. I like the three strike rule. It's like, all right, yeah, let me remind you again what I told you, right? I'm not going to go and ghost you right away. I'm going to protect my image, and
Put yourself
say,
in.
hey, yeah, put yourself in their shoes. Yeah, in their shoes, exactly. And then, if it happens again, it's like, all right, it's like, hey, I warned you once, I warned you twice, you know,
Yeah.
not I'm doing this. I'm doing this because it's the right thing to do. Like I'm doing this because you're not respecting my
and
boundaries.
and even then you can still, you know someone messages you and you're like, look, I'm not interested, leave me alone. They message you again and you're like, I'm being serious, like I really, like, I appreciate your interest in me, but I'm not interested, right? And they keep reaching out to you. Like, even then you can still be like, look, I would like to end this in good terms. I think you would too. Don't make me block you. Like, even then you don't have to ghost someone. Like, ghosting really is like a last resort. As long as someone's not being completely emotional and irrational and disrespectful, um, like that guy was being, then you can still be like, look, I don't want to have to block you. Like, I'm letting you know I've politely rejected you. I've politely said no thank you several times, like you said, 3 strikes. Now I'm politely warning you. It's like ghosting really is a last resort. Like, you can totally warn someone being like, hey, I really need space. Like, if you can't get that right now, I will force space by ghosting you, by blocking you. And like then, of course, if you can't, So it's
Right.
like I'm saying, from my point of view, it really is a very extreme last resort.
But be upfront and be clear about it.
Yeah. I don't think I've very I don't think I've ever had to like ghost someone, because I've been able to, like, like you're saying, as long as you're clear,
Mhm.
and you usually end up blocking someone before it's necessary to just completely vanish. And I don't know. You talked about self-image. Like, what is that? How does that make a person look in your opinion?
As the ghostee or the ghoster.
As the ghoster?
Oh, like I said before, you lose. How are you going to respect somebody who just doesn't respond?
Yeah.
Who just like I said, it's a worse, it can be a worse response. I think it is a worse response than any
Agreed.
response.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and it is a response. You think you're avoiding not hurting someone's feelings. Well, I think again.
Yeah. Yeah. I honestly, I think it really demonstrates a lack of maturity, because you're avoiding the confrontation, you're avoiding what really is an easy discussion in most cases. Like, as long as someone didn't start right off the bat saying, I don't get why you won't spend time with me, or I don't get why, why you have to harass me with your sales pitch or whatever. Like, unless someone's completely being irrational off the bat like that, where they're being rude or disrespectful or completely unglued, like, there's no reason to not have a discussion where you're honest and you're like, we're not compatible, or,
Right.
I don't think that you're interested, or like whatever
Uh-huh.
the circumstance.
Right, right. And others don't know how to verbally communicate a boundary
But
because it feels like it's easier. It's
even
easier to not say anything.
even not knowing how to verbally, I don't know which side you're talking about, but like even not knowing how to verbally communicate a boundary demonstrates immaturity. Like, if
Right.
you struggle to communicate your boundaries because someone isn't giving you space when you are asking them to go away, or you didn't ask them to go away because you don't know how to communicate those boundaries, that's like, that's your place to be like, I actually need to develop this. Like, this is my chance to develop this, or I need to go work on myself before I
Right.
fit in a situation like this. Because, like, ultimately, I think ghosting demonstrates a big lack of maturity.
Agreed.
And I can give a personal example. Like, I had a friend who I wasn't compatible with. Like, I was just like, I care about the guy, I like the guy, but like, we don't really have that many similar interests. We, to the point where we're not making time to even like hang out with each other. So it was just kind of like occasionally random text conversations. And I was like, this is dumb. Like, I like to hang out with my guy friends and like go do stuff, like go do manly things. Um, Otherwise, what are you in my life for? I don't need like verbal support once a week. Um, not to be rude, but to be realistic. Like, I'm good, you know. Um, and so I communicated that. I was like, hey, here's what's up. I politely said, I'm not really interested in being friends anymore, like maintaining this relationship. I don't really see much going on. Um, Texted me again, right? And I was like, there's literally like nothing to say. It's just this. Like, I'm being honest with you about it, right? Texted me again. I was like, for real, dude, like, you just need to accept that this is my decision and this is how I see it. And like, I'm not mad. I'm trying to be polite, right? Texted me again. And so then I just ignored it after several texts, because I was like, look, dude, I don't want to have to block you. Like, I'm just trying to be polite and end this on good terms. A couple days later, text me again. And I ended up ghosting, because I was like, we've already had as much, everything that I think needs to be said has been said. And every question you're asking me have been questions I've already answered. And, and then like 2 weeks later, text me again. And then a month later, text me again. And I was like, that's the kind of scenario where I think it's appropriate to ghost and block if necessary. Because it's like, get the point.
Hmm.
If
Right.
you can surely explain your side with honesty at least 3 times and then give a warning, that's when I would say you're in a good place to be able to ghost someone or block someone.
You did what you could,
Yep, exactly.
and then you did your part.
That's the important thing, is you did do what you could. You know, you didn't settle for less. You do what you can with the scenario. You don't drop out early and fail to tell the truth, or fail to communicate your point of view, or fail to demonstrate love and caring, even if it's a little bit of a painful uh, you know, message that you have to send. Like, you do what you can do. Then, if doing what you did isn't enough, that's when ghosting becomes all right.
Unnecessary. Yeah.
Again, it's like a last resort. It's like, might even be more last resort than blocking someone. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
That's it. All right, guys. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, I would leave it with don't ghost. I really don't think it's necessary unless it's like an extreme situation. But yeah, thanks for hopping on. Peace.
Peace.